Well, we kind of all knew that it would come to this one of these days. After over a year of drama and deliciously broken game mechanics, and overall game abandonment from the dev team, we finally get to play Finding Bigfoot. Oh wait, is it still Finding Bigfoot? Or, no, the Bigfoot Hunters? No, Bigfoot, just Bigfoot. At this point, let's just combine it all and call it the Bigfoot Hunters Go About Finding Bigfoot, and be done with it, shall we? This is WarriorDan, and looking at this game today, I, like a participant of a BDSM convention, am preparing myself for a little bit of punishment. Okay, let's talk about the game originally so bad that the development team got caught blackmailing content creators into leaving fake positive reviews before then revoking the Steam keys for those who refused to do so, and banning those people en masse from the Steam forum. As some of you may notice, I make no claims or assertions that I am unbiased in my opinions on this game, but it's kind of hard to remain neutral or unbiased when you are the targeted recipient of personal threats in a truly awesome, very public developer meltdown blog post. But now, after a year's delay and developer silence, we finally have in our possession the final version of the game in its expanded, improved, and final state. Oh wait, they removed the original map, and it's going to get replaced sometime in the unforeseeable future. Well, if their track record is anything to go by, hopefully it'll be released sometime before I start collecting my 401k earnings. At this point, I've just resigned myself to the fact that this game is essentially the gift that just keeps on giving. Bigfoot is an online co-op multiplayer game with support for up to 4 players. Gather your friends, or your worst enemies, depending on who you feel like tormenting, and jump into a lobby, pick one of 4 equally forgettable characters, and then prepare to be dropped off by a helicopter in a wintry forest of oddly identical trees, before making your way to a nearby cabin where you can pick up some additional supplies. After this initial setup period, it's time to start hunting the elusive Bigfoot. However, you'll have trouble finding your footing in the game as Bigfoot does not leave any kind of detectable tracks for you to find and follow, forcing you, the player, to rely almost exclusively on the mountable cameras that you can place throughout the map. One of the few unexpectedly well-designed gameplay mechanics in the game, the cameras can be rotated up to 360 degrees and can, to a limited degree, zoom in. If spread out effectively, your cameras can cover a wide range of territory, and if you have a member of your team willing to hang back in the safety of the cabin and monitor the cameras for you, this can free up you and the other remaining players to go explore the unmonitored areas for any sign of the reclusive Bigfoot. Should you be playing solo, or just want to play a bit more aggressively, you can alternatively opt for sporadically monitoring the cameras via your mobile phone using the new menu interface. Should you catch sight of him at some point, something I only happened to do once during my initial hour-long attempted playthrough, you can shoot him with a tracking bullet, allowing you to temporarily track his movements on your radar for a short period of time. However, this feature is honestly fairly useless, given Bigfoot's comparatively faster movement speed, allowing him to run from one end of the map to the other in a matter of seconds. All your tracking bullet can do is give you a very vague idea of where he's heading. However, by the time you and your team arrive at that location, Bigfoot will be long gone. The AI governing Bigfoot's actions is very, shall we say, questionable at best, combining an overall very passive attitude, causing him to automatically run away if detecting a player in the vicinity, alongside a very unnaturally large detection radius, leading to Bigfoot being inexplicably able to detect a player even if they are hundreds of feet away. The result is a frustratingly prolonged game of hide and seek. The Bigfoot that they promote in their doctored game trailer is definitely not the one you'll see in the game. Okay, before I proceed any further, I have to wonder, is the reason the 2.0 update was released over a year later after its initial announcement was because they had to stop what they were doing to learn how to go animate using Source Filmmaker? Because it looks like I'm watching a cinematic ad for an Xbox 360 survival horror game port released back in 2014. And oddly enough, I'd consider that the best thing about this update. If this game implemented intro and closing cutscenes of this quality or higher at the start and end of every new game, that would definitely go a long ways in spicing things up. This is something that I felt Evolve Stage 2 did right. Ironic, isn't it, that one of the most public failures in modern gaming actually did some things right, things that other games ought to pick up on and emulate. The problem I find with this trailer, or really the biggest problem at any rate, is how utterly inaccurately it represents the actual content of the game. It's almost very reminiscent of the Aliens Colonial Marines trailer versus the actual content in that game. In preparation for this review, I have played this game 4 separate times. Once in multiplayer, my longest playthrough, and 3 more times offline in single player mode. And in none of those, not one single moment in one single save file, did Bigfoot ever show up voluntarily of his own accord. In every single game, the lack of direction combined with the incredibly slow pacing led to an experience more frustrating than an unsatisfying sexual encounter. One method that could have saved this from being the case would have been introducing a mandatory time limit, decreasing the overall map size, nerfing Bigfoot's movement speed, and allowing hunters to follow Bigfoot's tracks without exclusively relying on the tracking darts. Basically, if you don't want the Bigfoot AI to be more aggressive, then at least rework the game to give the hunters a fighting chance of being able to find and chase Bigfoot if he's constantly going to be on the move. Because I'm kind of tired of hunting down Bigfoot like he's a guy who owes me money. My final score for Bigfoot 2.0 is a 4 out of 10. The game is like a supermodel. It got a facelift and tried to make itself look more sexy, but the problem is, like any aging supermodel who spent years artificially boosting their natural looks, it has not aged well. There's only so much you can cover up, and no amount of visual overhaul is going to solve the game's actual problems, such as a broken AI, an empty, lifeless husk of a world, awkward combat animations, and an overall lack of identity as a game. This is one game that, like its star, should remain lost in a lifeless forest, abandoned and forgotten, never to be seen or heard from ever again. That's it for this newest episode of What Is the Point Of? Hope you've enjoyed this. I don't apologize for the extra dose of heavily assaulted snark. This game has been the bane of my existence here on YouTube and on Steam for over a year now, but even so, I tried to go into this with just a grain of hope that things might be different. But sadly, this updated version was not a new hope for the game, but yet another nail in the coffin. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a like and tell me what you think of Bigfoot down below. Do be sure to subscribe and opt into getting notifications if you want to stay up to date when new videos are released. This is WarriorDan signing out. Stay awesome everybody, and peace out.